Hey, all right. So I figured out how to go live. That's amazing. We are going to have Karen LePage joining us tonight for our first Body Love chat. And so I'm just going to watch here. I see, oh, hi Max, I see you're here. Watch here and wait for Karen to pop up to join. Hey Karen. Okay. Oh, view request. Yay. Okay. Just a
Hi.
second. Yay! We did
We did.
it! Oh, and I'm seeing your new hair color, Karen. I love it.
Yeah, thanks to Holly at Attune Tacoma. Yeah.
Oh, so good. Yay. Ah, awesome. Thank you, Karen, for doing this. So,
Of
like
course.
I was just starting to say, this is my first live, so we'll see how this goes. I know you're more of a pro at these things, but um, yeah, I just put out last week, 2 weeks ago, the call to see if anybody wanted to share their stories, and Karen was one of the first to raise her hand. So I'm so excited that you're here, and I think most people that probably tune in probably know who I am, but in case anybody does not, my name's Amanda Bicking, and Mend is my business, and I'm a style clairvoyant, body love coach, and designer too, custom designer. So yeah, I put out the call a week or two ago asking for people to tell their stories, and I thought that by doing that, it would be really helpful to illuminate other people's story about their body journey, because chances are it might ring a bell or get some head nods from other people that have been there before. And me and my close group of friends have talked a lot about this lately, and I think it's really healing to be able to hear other people's stories and to be able to have that connection. So I'm hoping this just builds a sense of community and empathy, and keep building lots of love. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. This is Karen LePage.
Oh, yeah, Karen
I'll let you.
LePage.
Sure.
That's me. Um, I'm going to be 50 this year, and I guess that's why I jumped right on, because I feel like all this time I've wasted. Not all this time, but there have been a lot of years I've wasted being overly preoccupied with the way my body looks.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple like health incidents in the past couple years that really have brought me back to just appreciating what I can do
Yeah.
and not necessarily worrying about what I look like. I
Yeah.
also had like a midlife crisis moment maybe 3 months ago, where I just realized, I thought one day I woke up and I thought, I guess I'm never going to be beautiful again. Like I
Mm.
can't wind back the clock. And then I thought for a moment, I tried to talk myself out of like, don't, come on, stop it. You're a beautiful person. You're kind. And then I thought, you know what? Just sit in this for a minute, because I'm strong enough to sit in it now. And see
Yeah.
what was coming up. And it was really about aging. It wasn't about what I look like, but that's like, it's always the easiest thing. Oh, I didn't get the job because I'm overweight, or I didn't totally go for it because I didn't like the way I looked, or, I couldn't afford nice enough clothes for that interview, so I wouldn't do it. And there have
Yeah.
been so many excuses like that in my life. And I just want to encourage people to not wait until they're 50 to
Yeah.
realize that, maybe body love is pretty strong. Maybe it's just being body neutral and appreciative.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I think the most like centered I felt in my body and myself was after I had kids, which is
Mm-hmm.
obviously a challenge too. But I think it was kind of like a bigger moment to be why am I obsessing about the little things? And not that I still don't have, I have all kinds of triggers or things that, I wish were different and that sort of thing. But it was like almost needed that moment of reflection or something like bigger than me to be like, hey, it's okay. Like everything's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like you said, I think um, I am not 50, but I think like, with age and stuff,
Any age though.
you can just really learn, the more you mature and older you get to sit with it and notice it and kind of maybe discover a little bit what's going on instead of
And maybe
either,
grieve the clock.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
okay to grieve it. And I told myself I wasn't going to cry or swear. I'm probably going to do both. But
Oh, you're
the
good.
but the grief process, we always try to rush through it. I notice, well, I should just speak about myself. I try to rush through it, and grief's been a constant companion in my life. And so um there's no rushing through it.
Yeah.
We lose people, we lose opportunities, we um lose friends, but then we gain them as well. And so just being a little more, I guess, having a little more perspective, and being a little more open to what might come next without trying to rush in and fill whatever part is empty.
Yeah.
Again, it used to be about obsessing about the way I looked. And yeah, I'm just not, I love getting my hair done. It's the first time in many months, almost a year. But it doesn't mean that that it's different. I guess that's more of a kind of a wellness treat and kindness with my
Yeah.
hairdresser. Um, but yeah, I'm not as focused, even though I'm happy with the way it looks. Like, I'm not as focused on, oh, I can't go on camera if my hair's not beautiful, or I can't go out. I mean, nobody's going out now, but yeah. I had a time when I moved here to Seattle from Detroit where I started feeling invisible. I guess because people aren't as outwardly friendly here. I have not had trouble making friends, so that's not the issue, but it's just in general, it's a little more quiet. People aren't as chatty in line and that kind of thing. And um, yeah, so I started feeling really invisible, and then I think that's where the grieving kind of started. And I injured my feet, and then I was at home and not able to stand up for more than 2 hours a day, and just like really ridiculous kinds of, I guess it's not ridiculous, but pretty severe injuries that forced me to really stay with my body. There's no escaping it when you can't even walk somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really, like, I started taking showers standing, saying, oh, thank you so much, legs. Thank you, belly, for not being sick all the time. Thank you for making children that are my friends and very favorite companions, now
Yeah.
that they're now that they're older. Even when they were younger, but like now. uh my oldest is 23, and she told me recently that she was off work because she injured her foot. She's a postal carrier, and she started gaining weight right away, because when you walk 10 hours a day, you can eat whatever you want. And then maybe there's a little little change pretty swiftly when you stop. And she said, but it's okay, because you showed me that even I don't always feel this way, but she said I showed her that it's okay to fluctuate in weight as long as you are still take care of yourself, and you still are kind to your friends, and you're still kind to yourself. And I thought, wow, that's the message I'm sending, even though I don't always feel it. Then just imagine, like, the little mindset tweaks we make,
Yeah.
what kind of effect they can have on each other.
Yeah. I love
Being
that.
so fire.
Yeah.
It was a big
I
step.
I had some moments where, with a lot of like weird reoccurring health issues kept happening, where it was challenging for me to have a positive mindset, and I was like, what is wrong with my body if these things keep happening? Or like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? And you know, as much as I was uncomfortable with how my body wasn't performing the way I wanted it to, I'm also very uncomfortable sitting with those emotions and grief, and
Yes.
learning to sit with them. And I think a lot of that has been a big part of it, just as much as the physical, is like being okay with it. And I had some health stuff last year that just we never really figured out what it was. And then it reemerged this year. It was a kidney stone. Like, not to say it was only, but it was only a kidney stone after
I mean, it's a pretty
all.
common thing. It's
It
definitely not
is,
minor.
yeah. And after
But
but all this worry, and nobody knew what it was, and like scary things, and like family history stuff. And I was just like, my body just did what it needed to do in the time it needed to do. And now
yeah,
I'm fine, like,
yeah,
so it's always a work in progress for me to very much like just like chill with the complicated emotions or the uncomfortable or sit with it. And yeah, you're right. Like showing that gratitude to your body, like even for me being like, my body showed me something was wrong, you know, when I
Yeah.
was like sticking with it and trying to figure it out, and now it's fine. Like thanking my body for showing me that something was wrong was helpful. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. And I realized we jumped ahead to like who you are too, like as a person, Karen. Like you are, I met Karen this past year by joining like a mutual group, and but we also have common interests together, especially in sewing. And I can let you introduce yourself more, but I love your phrase of being a sewing fairy godmother. So I didn't like give you a proper introduction.
No, it's fine. I jumped right in like I do. And also I'm so multi-hyphenate, you know, it's hard to say. But yeah, I do a lot with garments, and lately, I mean, my whole life I've been trying to make things that fit, because it didn't matter what size I wore. So as small as I ever was, things still didn't fit properly.
Yeah.
And in teaching hundreds of people how to fit clothes on their bodies, I realized we can all look at someone and say, oh, I bet they never have trouble finding something that fits.
Mhm.
It's not true. Clothes aren't made to fit our bodies. They're made to be cheap. They're
Yeah.
not made to be custom fit to our shapes anymore. I mean, we'd have to
Yeah.
go back 100 years to get to that point. And so it's pretty easy to go into Target and try to buy like a woven shirt and like criticize ourselves because the sleeves are too tight. The sleeves are too tight for everybody. They're not grading the sleeves large enough for arms to fit in. So that's it. Again, it's about perspective, and just it's not you, it's the clothes. Like clothes are supposed to fit us, not the other way around. And I
Right.
don't know why it took me so long to realize that, but there we are.
Yeah, I loved like when we did our work together there, and when I do my style work, I usually try to pull some examples for people and styles that they like and things like that. And you were like, it's fine. I'll just take inspiration because I can make clothes to fit my body. And I was like, it's an extra step for you, right? Like it's before aside from like going to Target or going to the
Yeah.
store and buying something, but like I imagine maybe not at first, but over time that probably felt really empowering, right? To
Yeah.
like be
Oh,
able to have
definitely.
that skill. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I've been sewing for since I was 5, but I've been making my own clothes since high school. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, especially in the 80s, it was really difficult to find things that fit well. 80s and early 90s, you know, it was the years of Kate Moss. It's not her fault, but it was
Yeah.
completely unattainable. And we have such a short memory that beauty standards change.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be, I, I wanted to go to fashion school also. Not because I love fashion, because I honestly not really a huge fan of capital F fashion,
Yeah.
but I definitely wanted to learn how to make things better. And I also wanted to, I guess, learn how people express themselves through clothing, but I never considered myself a designer. So I didn't realize you could have other jobs inside the industry. And I also didn't see anybody, you know, my size or larger working in any of the interviews I went to. I interviewed at FIDM in LA when I lived there, and um, I got in, but no one would help me pay for school. So there we go. That's
Yeah.
and then I thought, oh, I'll just teach myself, which turns out to be a blessing because the things I learn and the things I do for my job now are helping brands and sewing pattern designers even make their sizes more inclusive and fit better. And I wouldn't know that. I would have still had to do the self-study had I gone to
Yeah.
fashion school because they don't teach that.
Right. Versus like just sizing up, in
Yeah,
software and stuff. Yeah.
right. Or even, I mean, even fashion drawings are a
Yeah.
proportion that no human being has. So why are we training our eyes to that standard? Yeah, it just
It was
I
interesting
was
as
fed up with
people
it
were.
before I got there, and then
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. That's so funny you say that because when I would be doing like my final projects and stuff at like Thanksgiving. My cousins would like be seeing what I'm drawing. They're like, what like is that? Like that long, like weird poses and stuff like that. And the thing is too, aside from being unrealistic in the drawings, we were also pretty much always designing for ourselves in school. Like we weren't doing until maybe we progressed a little bit further, like research on other ages, other body types, all of that. And so I actually designed my mom's Mother of the Bride dress for my wedding. I was like, not doing my dress, but I'll do hers. And it was really the most eye-opening thing for me to be like, here's a different body type than mine. We'd always just been designing for ourselves. I'm like, how can you be a very good designer when you're not thinking about the wealth of sizes and population and where we carry our weight and how our shapes are and all of that? I was like, cool. So, yeah.
And on top of that, then making things comfortable. I mean, my oldest child also is on the autism spectrum and has sensory processing disorder, especially as a child. So I had to make things inside out so she would just wear them. There was just a lot of younger children have issues where they won't wear socks, or they'll wear them inside out, or seams on things bother them. And so I learned when she was 5, I guess that was, well, like I said, like 18 years ago, that no, why would I only make things that are soft and comfortable for this child? I could make them for myself. Nobody likes tags in their shirts. That's why we don't have them anymore.
Right.
Or rarely. And so designing around body shape, but also for living, is something that I think we need to push the people we want to buy from to change the way they do things.
Yeah. I think I saw, trying to remember what you posted, but it was adjustable pants. I thought you said maybe for a cancer patient.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
like weight fluctuated.
Yeah.
Which, you see in children's garments for the very different sizes they can be at their age. And I think I'm probably going to butcher it, but your post was something about too, like, why aren't we making clothes like this to allow for like when our bodies fluctuate, instead of, squeezing into pants that are too tight, but not wanting to go to a different size, and like knowing that it's natural for our sizes to fluctuate too. And I was like, yeah, why aren't we?
Yeah, I think it would give people a little more freedom to feel like they could embrace their body at different sizes. I mean, because ideally you should be able to wear the same clothes, one size up or one size down. It would just fit a little bit differently, but not if you can't sit down because the waist is too tight. I mean, it's easy enough to put elastic in the back of every pair of pants waistband. It doesn't have to be visible.
Yeah.
So we were talking about body love, and I went and complained about the fashion industry.
No, I was like, we'll take this where we're going to go. And that's all. I mean, it's all really important, of course.
I think it's related, because that's where reinforcement comes from, right?
For sure. Yeah. And like where our beliefs come from, and where, it's silly that it's taken me this long to be like, oh, this is what a comfortable fit is, instead of like, technically my measurements are this, so technically I can fit into this size. And now it's like, what is comfortable? Like you said, like sitting down in a pair of pants that technically fit, technically don't like bulge when you sit in them, but are really uncomfortable, is probably not something that I should be buying. Like, and feeling, knowing what it feels like when they are comfortable, like when that actually clicked in my mind, I was like, oh, this is freeing. Like, feeling comfortable is going to make me feel much more confident too.
We deserve that.
Yeah.
As humans.
Yeah. I was talking to someone recently, and they were like, it's just kind of occurred to her too that like you can still dress stylish and comfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you can. Like, it's just finding what comfort looks like for you, and finding like how to put things together that make you feel like you. But I was like, yeah, isn't that funny that we associate that too? That's like what we're trained with, is that feeling like ourselves, dressing like how we might really want to dress, like, is going to be uncomfortable. So why would I want to do that? Yeah.
Right. I think it goes back to like those prickly dresses for Easter or dance costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So What if you and share as little or as much as you want to, but like what are some things that have felt hard for you throughout the years? Like what's been your you're reflecting on where you are now, which I think is wonderful. Like what's been some of those challenges for you and like do you feel like you've overcome them? Like what have you learned, I guess, or what do you want to share about your story?
Um, well, a lot
It's a
has
pretty
been
big
hard.
question.
No,
Yeah.
no, yeah, I mean, I'm alive and I have a great family and wonderful friends. So there's a lot that's that's great, but a lot has been hard. Um, when it comes to like moving around in the outside world, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Again, we go back to things fitting. Like even as a child, it was very difficult to find things that fit. Um, and well, I mean, even now here in Seattle, like I'll go into this beautiful boutique in before times, and they'll even with letter sizes, they'd only go up to a size medium. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
I want to pay you a lot of money for these clothes, and you're just not willing to make them in my size. I mean, I'm glad to
Right.
make them myself if I have to, but like, why wouldn't I would like to support a fellow
Right. Yeah.
designer, like the local designers, and that was shocking to me. Um, Size it's going up to a medium just was
Yeah.
shocking to me, and so yeah, it can knock me back a little, even though I feel like I've kind of overcome that. Like definitely, well, that was a bad business choice for them because they lost a
Yeah.
customer, and
Yeah.
it's not just me. I'm not the only
Yeah.
person who wears an extra large pants, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah. Of course not.
Um, but it's still the first instinct is still like, oh, if only I were smaller, or if only I were firmer, or maybe if I just like ride my bike 7 miles every morning before I start work, like maybe I'll catch up. And that's just so damaging. I mean, if I wanted to ride my bike 7 miles in the morning,
Yeah.
I would just do it to feel good.
Yeah.
And I have definitely gotten there with exercise. It's a habit and a joy, especially over the pandemic with my younger daughter. She loves to hike. We actually went for a hike. Both girls went for a hike with me this morning, but just a mile at the local park, like first thing in the morning before the day starts. And we've been practicing yoga every single day, whether it's 40 minutes or 7 minutes. Something every single day. And so getting in that habit has also helped me feel really empowered. So it's not about like how much can I do, how hard can I push. I mean, that's how I got injured in the first place.
Right.
Was yeah, after I had the youngest child who's now 14, I nursed for 3 years and then was chasing her around. As you know, like as soon as they can move, you lose weight. Like it doesn't matter if you're nursing or not. But the combination of those things, and I thought, oh, this is great. Like instead of just being happy that I had like recovered my strength and agility, and actually had gone down before my pre-pregnancy weight, I was like, all right, cool. How far can I push it? And
Mm.
I was running, and I've never been a runner, but I was happy to be able to run. I never
Yeah.
enjoyed it ever. I'll walk all day, but I just never enjoyed running. But I made myself do it just so that I could see how small I could be, instead of just appreciating that I had, this healthy kid that I made with my body.
Yeah.
And um, I think also what kind of changed um, the way as she was getting older. She's like 5'9". She's always been in like the 150th percentile of growth charts, and um, I didn't want her to see me punishing myself for just
Yeah.
how our skeletons are, how our family is. We eat healthy and we move. Like, what else is there?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what's been helpful for me too, like in having kids is thinking about how I want them, like what messaging I want them to hear or not to hear a lot, and
Yeah.
thinking about obviously like they're always watching. They mimic,
Mm.
they're so impressionable, and I think about some of the things that were impressionable when I was younger too, and like the messaging I picked up are the things that I thought I should do that were damaging.
Yeah.
I am I doing it perfectly? No, I'm sure I'm not, but like I'm trying to, it's much more of a motivator. And like you're saying, you're right. Like there's that thing in your brain where you see like success, or you see like, oh, I've lost this. So then you're like so fear-based and losing that you keep pushing and pushing and doing more. And yeah,
Right.
I hate running too. And I keep trying like every so often. I think one, it's like an easy thing to do. Like I can
Right.
go
I
outside
mean,
and go
it's a
do it.
good full body exercise if you're not going to destroy your back and your hamstrings and your feet.
Exactly. And that's what I've just started to come to terms with over the past few years, is just like, unless I'm like relearning maybe how to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's part of my body sport too, is like
Yeah.
my knees and my hips, like they go in, they go out, they're like weird. And I like people, I get really
Weird.
embarrassed. They are. I get, see my sister's on here. She can attest to it. I'll get like really embarrassed too. Like I was in a Pilates class and I could see someone like the instructor like this, and I could tell she was like trying to keep me safe, right? But it was like you could tell it was like, what's going on? And I immediately was like, "Are you looking at my knees?" She was like, "Well, yeah, but," and it's like it's funny. It's something different than what I think of when we think of like
Right.
body confidence and stuff. But it was this thing I kept trying to push through. Well, I'll just deal with it. And now I'm like, I don't think like, and I don't think I want my body to be made for running. Like that's okay. What is good for my body? Pilates is pretty good for my body. Like what are the things that are going to keep, like you said, my back safe? I had a lot of back like issues for a while and stuff too. And it's, it's hard to kind of like rewire your brain to how we think we should be healthy, or we should be doing something, or what exercise looks like. Like you said, walking,
Yeah.
you walk like that's great,
I
right?
mean,
It's moving your body.
yeah. And being outside. Like that's really,
Going
I
up
mean,
the
I've climbed
stairs. Like,
two
yeah.
14,000-foot mountains in my life. It's not like I played
Yes.
soccer. It's not like I haven't been sporty. I was on the swim team. I did all kinds of sporty things. But that was for the joy of being on a team.
Right.
Um, and still, it would be like, oh, I'm the fattest one on the team. Oh, this uniform doesn't come in my size, so I have to make my own shorts at a size 16 in high school,
Mm-hmm.
which is stupid. Like, of course there
Yeah.
should be like
Right.
people
Yeah.
who wear a size 16 still play soccer and basketball. I never
Right.
played
Right.
basketball. I'm very short, but um, those kinds of they're habits, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that the availability of clothes told me about my body. They're not what I saw in myself. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, there was that. So that was hard. We were talking about things that were hard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just not ever being able to going shopping for clothes was never. I would go buy a book while my friends tried things on.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, give them feedback and all that kind of thing and bring them different sizes and that. But there was never anything for me. And
Yeah.
so it was, I'd be crying in a dressing room. I just
Yeah.
stopped. I didn't
Yeah.
want that to be the case. Nowadays there are a lot more different sizes available and in kind of stylish clothes. You don't have to go to the elderly department at at a department store, where everything's pushed to the back and it's elastic waist polyester pants because, that's what they think older ladies want to wear, which is also not true. But yeah, so that not being able to participate in that ritual of back to school
Yeah.
shopping for clothes was pretty painful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at that age too, like that's what
Yeah,
you do. You go to, well, I don't know if kids
we're
wear
Midwestern. We
clothes
went to
all
the mall.
anymore, but that's what, that's what I did. Yeah, and or like yeah, I was much more into, so we didn't do like the brands that were popular
Yeah.
when I was younger. And but it was like really exciting for me to go to Kohl's and like to look at discounts, but look at the things and like try all the different things on and like mash
Mhm.
together my style. And yeah, that's such a big part of that age, and that yeah, that would be hard. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about my professional life. Working in the world headquarters of automotive, an international automotive company, right? Global. Um, I had, again, I was running, so I was much smaller. And so finally, the first time in my life, I wanted to wear skirts to work. this was back, yes, in the early 2000s, so we still had to wear pantyhose. Ugh.
Oh.
Anyway, but yeah, when they don't come in your size, there's always going to be a run, and so it made me feel like definitely not put together, not ready to go have a meeting with the vice president of whatever in whichever country, in the next building over. And also, then as soon as I was wearing skirts, I was told in a review that they were too short. Instead of just telling me like the day, they were not
Right.
against dress code, but
Right. Right.
apparently, yeah, above my knee was too short. And I thought, like, I'm shamed if I can't wear them. I'm shamed if I can wear them. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to not accept it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I imagine that just feels like, yeah, demoralizing. You don't want to
It
wear
is. Yeah, especially since I was doing a great job. I always got raises. I got promoted until I couldn't get promoted anymore without a master's degree. So, yeah, it was just that would be something that was noted and like kept for whatever half a year to tell me about was just like it was really if like I can still feel that hot flush of shame for finally being confident enough to wear skirts in public after my whole life of hiding, wearing. Fortunately, I graduated in 1990, so in the late 80s, those opaque black tights or colorful
it.
tights were all the rage. So those with some some boots were totally fine to wear to school. But yeah, it's just all of these negative reinforcements have come from outside because when it's just me and my
Right.
body, we're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, and as people that identify as women too, I mean, we're getting like you're getting called out for wearing a skirt, right? Like so on one hand we have more choices of things to wear,
Right.
right? So there's probably more room for those
More choices, fewer
interpretations, but
pockets.
but
Yeah.
I've got to believe that that's not something that's looked at quite as much, for maybe the opposite sex. I know for um, me, there was a few times, well, when I was in high school where I went to a private school, so a Catholic school, so, a little
Yes.
stringent. When you have your, what are they called, dress down days or whatever, like they would make, some teachers, not all, would make you stand up like this and raise your arms. And if your shirt came up, well, I'm 5'10". So
Oh, yeah. So it's
my
your
shirt's gonna
skeleton.
come up. but it wasn't showing like standing down. It wasn't like I was
Right.
wearing a crop top, which, there's all those other side notes too about what you want to wear and everything too. But like that was so embarrassing to be sent to the office to go home or call my mom or something like that and that was when I first started playing with like style and fat, which at that age we just said it happens.
Yeah.
But for me, it was very much like a tool to either sink back in and not get noticed or stand out a little bit more because I was such a quiet person. And so it was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and then you see it again when you get older and you're in business and have certain comments made that you're like, well, I will never wear that again because I don't want that like gross attention either,
Yeah, I
right?
didn't wear it for you, dude.
No,
Wore it
yeah,
for me.
felt amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't feel amazing anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's funny. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. But yeah. So those. But then I think about I practiced yoga for 20 years and yeah, about going to a class with my husband. I invited him to come with me at one point, and how he was just able to like in a forward fold put his hands on the ground, and I first thought, what's wrong with me that it takes so much effort for me to relax, and then I realized like my legs are longer than his, and he's 5 inches taller than I am. Obviously, he's longer body, longer arms. And I wasn't even thinking about my
Yeah.
skeleton. It was
Yeah.
physically impossible for me to do that so quickly. I mean, there's got to be some release and breathing, and it's okay to have your knees bent. And I mean, even in exercise and yoga classes and um, meditation and all kinds, you don't have to sit still all the time in meditation classes these days. And I feel like I don't know if they're being taught this way or if teachers just in general are being more accommodating, kind, open, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe trauma informed. Definitely, we have more trauma informed teachers, but it's not as it's not as much trying to or maybe I just don't go to those classes anymore where it's like, if you're not making the shape on the outside, um,
Yeah.
you're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's also, if it's for a purpose, the shape, we could be making a shape on the inside and it just doesn't look that way on the outside because of, flesh that's on top of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that I had come a long way when I went to a class with a friend, and this male instructor came up to me and wanted to offer me an adjustment. And I had just healed from plantar fasciitis for 2 years. So I couldn't walk for 2 years. And so I was gently getting back into yoga. In fact, not being able to practice yoga is what drove me to the physical therapist in the first place. Because
Yeah.
if I can't even practice yoga, there's obviously a problem here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came over and said, "Oh, how about if you just try a little bit more?" And I said, "I don't have that today.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't have that today." Then he came back later and tried to offer it again in the same pose. And we have to trust each other, even if
Yeah.
we're teaching a physical class, that people are doing the best they can.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, that I think that perpetuates that drive to like to push yourself too, because it's
Mm-hmm.
embarrassing to get like even if they do it gently to be like
Yeah.
called out, right? Like, especially if that's
Mm-hmm.
like something you really want to be at.
Yeah.
When I did
But I wasn't
yoga,
embarrassed for the first time. I finally
yeah,
knew. Um, After all these years, it was 3 years ago. Yeah, I finally knew, no, this is not my practice. My practice is not to try to compete with people in here. My practice is not to try to do everything. I'm here for myself, not on display.
yeah,
Um, it's not for performance.
yeah,
There was too many years of performance for me.
yeah. It's interesting. I feel like so I kind of ping pong through exercising because I think I
Mm-hmm.
get bored and the one that I was doing that I really loved I ended up stopped doing after I had some back problems and then had babies and all the other thing. I'd like to get back into it eventually, but it through like moving my body differently or like lifting weights and stuff, like the things you were just saying about your husband being able to do something differently, I was like, oh, like so I'm taller, so I have way more room to like go down or room
Yeah.
for error and like lifting some of these weights and like under like actually starting to see my body a little bit differently by the mechanics like and actually thinking about it versus again like in high school I think just running and running and running or doing the things that we're told to do and once I
Mm-hmm.
started actually want to understand my body more and how it moved and functioned then all of a sudden I had like a respect for it or to be able to like not be competitive and be like
Right.
okay my body does that differently and that's okay like
Yeah.
that's fine look at what I can do so and it
That's
was
a
like
really good point. It's like more growth beyond just being, I mean, it's a big deal. It's beyond, though, appreciating our bodies just simply because we're alive, right? Or we had a healthy baby, or we are able to get out of bed today, which
mhm,
sometimes, over the past
basically all you
years,
can
I've
do
had days where,
yeah
yeah, but specifically to appreciate the uniqueness of ourselves.
yeah
That's a step. That's the next step, I think.
well and I think like when you are able to be around other people in community trying to achieve the same thing or similar things like being able to appreciate what other people bodies can do instead of feeling competitive so I don't
Right.
know if she's still on here or not but when my sister's on here like my sister could just kill it with sled pushes like weighted
Yeah.
sled pushes like her legs are so strong and I was always like that's awesome like I want to be maybe not as strong as her. Like I can appreciate what my legs can do, but like that's awesome, right? Or when
Yeah.
you see somebody doing something that like it's meant for what they're built for, or and
Mhm.
it's not just this like desire to meet it at all cost, right? Like
Right.
just appreciating the difference in them. I think is really really beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And then we can start to help other people see the beauty and the uniqueness of them. I think
yeah,
once we have it, it's easy to say things to other people, but once we really are embodying an appreciation for ourselves as humans, then I feel like what we say actually has an impact.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people
And
also
like,
need to be ready to hear it. But we
that's
still
what I was
can
gonna
put it
say.
out in, whatever, 3 feet away outside their aura. And when they're ready to bring it in, they can bring it in years later.
That's true.
You know.
That's true. Yeah. And I think like the practice of accepting when people say kind things to you too, like it shouldn't, doesn't seem like it should be hard, but it is. Like it's hard, someone gives you a compliment and you're like, oh, well, but I don't know, my arms are still big or what, whatever. Like it,
Yeah.
like that's I think a conditioning at least like probably my generation is used to. And
And mine. Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking maybe that's changing with younger generations,
But I
but
think we're changing it. Right.
yeah, yeah. Ooh, I like that, Karen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
think
feel like
that
that's why we're here. We're
yeah,
not bringing this crap forward anymore.
yeah,
We're just not going to drag it forward and inflict it on our children and our young friends. No.
yeah. I mean, and that's like something I'm like consciously trying to do now for myself, and then hopefully in turn other people see it or my kids see it, or like
Yeah.
when someone gives me a compliment, like stopping, hearing it, and being like, "Thank you,"
Yeah.
and
We
it's like
know those words.
it's just yeah, like or being like, "Yeah, thank you," like does look nice on me today, and like actually believing it too, which is not it's not easy. I don't want to make it seem like it's
No.
easy, but just like
It's a
it needs
practice,
that
though.
practice.
It's a practice like everything else.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, well, is there anything else you want to share or leave people with? I don't want to have you, feel like you have to talk. This has just been so nice to chat and
I'm
so
enjoying it.
good. And yeah,
Yeah. I guess I would just encourage people to ask for what they want. If they go somewhere and something isn't going to fit, then ask the shop. The more we request things, the more, I mean, how are brands supposed to know what we want if we don't tell them? So there's that. I mean,
yeah,
there's that. Also, maybe being willing to take things to a tailor when it doesn't fit, so you can really start to feel like you have something custom. It's kind
yeah,
of like getting a half custom thing if you buy something to fit your thighs and the waist doesn't fit. I mean, when I buy something to fit my thighs and the waist doesn't fit because they're two different completely different sizes, I just learned to take the back in. It's fine. Take the waist in.
yeah,
So not everybody has to do this themselves, but I am seeing a resurgence in tailoring and alterations everywhere. And so I think that's also mending, of course. I think like treasuring what we have that expresses who we are and makes us feel confident is a practice that we might want to lean into nowadays, especially as we're finally going outside again.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, the point about tailoring and alterations, I know how to do alterations, but there's some things I just don't want to do of my own.
Yeah.
Like, and so I have a couple pairs of denim that I'm just like, I want these done a certain way and not the shortcut way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I will happily invest in those to be tailored because they are going to be an investment when I have to get them tailored the way that I want them to. And I think that has been like a mindset change for me too, to be like, I love these.
Mm-hmm.
They're worth getting. My body has changed, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it always wasn't quite the right fit, but I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And investing with that and loving it, and then wearing them so much more that every time I put them on, I'm like, and put them back because they don't fit, exactly right. And yeah, I love what you said at the beginning too, like to remember that if the sleeves don't fit for the shirt, they probably don't fit other people too. They weren't made.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes too, for me, there's been times where I'm like, I bought this piece I love, and now I have to spend more money to get it tailored or whatever because it doesn't fit me, right? Or I had to buy the size that was much bigger because the size that my like measurements kind of fit in don't fit. And it can be, again, it can feel like you, right? But it happens, like you said, to so many people. They're not made to fit.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And we've just been trained to accept poor fit.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's what's available. And I guess, it might feel like we're spending more, than we already spent. And we are, but we're also employing somebody and we have a more personal connection with what we're
Right.
wearing then. And people didn't used to have 7 pairs of jeans.
Right.
You know, this is new phenomenon. And so um, and that's fine. Like maybe it's okay to do that, especially if that's what you wear every day. And um, maybe it's worth investing in having someone help you make them fit beautifully, or buying the ones that actually already fit. Or even though I'm 5'5", I have a 32-inch inseam, so I often have to buy tall pants.
Yeah.
Um, which doesn't make sense because then the waist is too high, but the legs finally fit the length, and you can't really add. I
Right.
mean, you can, but I'm not really looking for that patchwork cuff style every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just going on my way to find those, and being willing to. I mean, I guess I could also make my own jeans. Maybe that's a challenge for another day. Um, the other thing, though, keeping things that don't fit, um, and not showing our bodies the care that they deserve by sizing up, going and get something. If you really love something, just buy the next size up.
Yeah.
Um, you don't have to never wear it again or torture yourself to try to fit in a size again. It'd be nice to have two, um,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think there's also when we keep things that, like you said, torturing ourselves, trying to like get ourselves to be within a certain size or to be uncomfortable, we're also holding on to like a lot of probably like stuck energy there
Yeah.
too, by,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why Marie Kondo sounds so appealing to so many of us, like in
Yes.
terms of like releasing some of that energy. But I was thinking too about your comment about getting things that fit. I think this might
If
not
it's
be
possible.
true. This may not be a luxury everybody has, but
That's true.
for me, when I have found something even off the rack that does fit, like it's a whole different story, right?
Yeah.
It's like, or when something has been like tailored or taken in for me, like the confidence level is just so much higher, and then I want to wear it more. I want to keep it longer, and I think it's that like respect for our body that then translates into our clothes, because now all of a sudden like it's like a whole window has opened and now I want to wear it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
And you,
It's hard to, yeah.
yeah, it is. It is hard because we tell ourselves it's hard. I think,
Yeah.
again, it's a practice. I think about my older daughter joking, saying, "Oh, I see you practicing yoga every day. When are you going to actually do it?"
That is a burn.
I know she was joking, but because we call it practicing, but the practice is not about getting into a shape. It's about how we talk to each other, talk to
Yeah.
ourselves inside. What are we saying to ourselves when we can't reach something one day, we reach the other day? Or what are we saying to ourselves when we finally get into some shape, or we finally go fast enough to feel good about our running time, or
Yeah.
we don't pause in a hike when we used to pause.
Yeah.
um, the practice is being kind to ourselves and enjoying our moments as they come. The
Yeah.
practice isn't competing with ourselves.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think that, yeah, like you said, that takes time, and it takes noticing those
Mm-hmm.
small things, like instead of sometimes being obsessed with like what the goal is or what, like noticing the small things that get you there and like appreciating them, which I think is different than how we're conditioned or what we see. And yeah, yeah, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it that the practice is the important part. Yeah.
Right. And if we're practicing being kind to ourselves, it's not a stretch that it's easy to be kind to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think it makes us more aware then too, and we're more kind to ourselves, like aware of probably what other people are feeling too. Because when I can be the queen of dissociation for sure, and like when I'm not paying attention to myself, like how am I? Well, I can either not be paying attention to other people because of it, or paying too much attention like, to other people and not reflecting
Mm-hmm.
it back to myself, being too codependent, that sort of thing. So it's, yeah, I think it's just a whole level of awareness that opens up when you get there, and it's always a practice, right? You
Yeah,
just get
absolutely.
stronger. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So physical fortitude, emotional fortitude, it all comes from
All of it.
practice. Yeah. And yes, so the practice of all of those practices is how I've come to appreciate living in the body I'm in and living, period.
I know we're wrapping up here, but I did want to mention, if you don't mind, you told me that you and your daughter like share clothes since I've been posting
Yeah,
some
I'm
Sundays
wearing a
picking out my
shirt right.
clothes.
She's wearing the green one of these right now. We have it
Yeah.
in two colors.
And I love that too, because I think that's like such, well, one, it's just like fun to share and be in that experience. But I
Mm-hmm.
think like that's just like reflecting like to you and to her how much you guys like I would think like how beautiful you see each other. Like you're wearing the same clothes, you're loving the clothes and that, and
Yeah.
you've designed with her too, right? Like
Yeah,
she's
well,
her
now
clothes.
she's choosing her own things and she's actually making clothes for school this fall. So,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
wild. But yeah,
Yeah.
for my older daughter, she plays Dungeons and Dragons types things and the tabletop games and that kind of thing. And so she would just come up with like, all right, can I have a floor length wool coat that's lined in satin and these embroideries? And I thought that was my favorite thing I made that year was because it
Yeah.
came out of her imagination onto a page and I used my magic to make it appear in the world from a dream to reality, like just through the skills that I've learned over the years.
Mhm.
That's
It
can't
is
ask for
magic.
more than that.
Yeah. That is
It is.
magic. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much
Thank
for doing
you.
this, Karen. Thanks for kicking it off and making me feel at ease. You're just like the best energy to be
Anytime.
around. And for anyone that watched, like if you enjoyed it and you want to share your story too, you can always DM me. I'm
Yeah.
going to be doing. I had the few here in August, and then I'm going to do some more in September. And I'm always up for hosting anyone that wants to share because I just think it's so nice. And I said at the beginning about probably having some head nod moments from people and like seeing themselves in each other, but also awareness of very different things. Like you brought up
Mm-hmm.
some things today, Karen, that like I haven't gone through. And because of that, that's just helped me grow and learn, just like I'm sure lots of other people here too. So it's so
Yeah.
good.
Thank you
Yeah.
for doing this. I think it's going to be, I'm looking forward to watching the rest of them too. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be hopefully really helpful to people. And
Yeah.
even if it's not helpful, hopefully they feel seen. Um,
Yes. That's,
yeah.
that's my jam. So
I
yeah,
know.
it's like, Karen knows a lot about just me from your Gene Keys reading even. But yeah, so that's my jam. So yeah, that's my hope too, is people feel seen, people feel yeah, that they feel a community too. That would be such a gift too. So
Yes, we are all in this together.
yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
much love. Thanks for spending your evening with me. And
My
I know
pleasure.
I'll talk to you sometime soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably see you tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye.